Hi, this is Brian Oliva at Getsemani Music. The original intent of this video is to provide a detailed in-depth tutorial on how to run a special calibration routine for the Moog One that's hidden in the Settings menu, beginning with firmware update 1.4.0. As you're probably well aware, many Moog Ones experience tuning issues, especially in the lower octaves. Significant improvements were made through earlier firmware updates, and a very elaborate tuning compensation routine was introduced in 1.4.0 that maps out how much out of tune each oscillator is for every note possible and tries to adjust for that on the fly every time a note is pressed. But for some that created new problems because if a note was really out of tune you could hear the note slide to the correct value. It also can create issues with wave cancellation, which was recently covered in an excellent video by Tim Shoebridge, so I won't dwell on any of that. For those lucky enough to have been able to get through to Moog Tech Support regarding their tuning issues, it was revealed that there's an actual calibration routine embedded in 1.4.0. But since it's likely a beta version, it does not appear in the Settings menu unless you know the secret key combination to make it appear. It was anticipated that the final version of that would be included in the next firmware update for everyone to be able to access easily. But now it's been 16 months since that last firmware update, and for whatever reason, Moog has yet to offer up anything new, which for me is a very uncharacteristic thing for them. So even though my Moog One has been pretty well behaved, I decided it was time to do a tutorial to show you how to run the routine if you're having issues. But I ran into a problem. For me, the routine slows and freezes in the middle of step 6 of 33, and I haven't been able to get around it. I sent an email to Moog Tech Support, but it's gone unanswered in 10 days. That is also a new experience for me, as a Moog customer for over 13 years with 7 Moogs in the studio. I've never run into a problem that wasn't quickly fixed until now. So this video will show you how to access and start the routine, and if it finishes for you, you should be in great shape. For what it's worth, I'm the only case I know of where the routine freezes up. It's worked great for everyone else that has tried it to my knowledge, and since the routine doesn't write any data until the last step, if it freezes for you, just power cycle your Moog One, and you should be right back where you were before with no harm done. So let's get to it. First, according to Moog's Tech Support, this calibration should only be performed at the direction of Moog service. They want you to allocate at least 4 hours for the duration of the procedure. In user experience, 8 hours might be more appropriate. But you don't have to watch it, so maybe your best bet is to set it up just before you go to bed and take it from there. Make sure your Moog One has been turned on for at least 45 minutes to an hour, and also make sure you're updated to the latest firmware update 1.4.0, otherwise you won't find this. The first step is to connect 2 1/4-inch audio cables. Doesn't matter if they're TS or TRS. And you're going to connect them from the sub-outs left and right to the line in and microphone line in on the back of the unit. And it doesn't matter where the trim pot for the mic input is. Next, press Settings and go under Utilities to confirm that you're running the latest firmware, 1.4.0. Once confirmed, just hit Settings again to back out. Now we're going to hold down the Shift key, the Settings key, and then tap the More button in the Polyphony section. That'll create a new item in the menu called Calibration. Select that, and then go under Voice Card Calibration. Confirm that Voices says All, Tuning is on, and Calibration's 17 of 17. Scroll down and select the Start. Press the encoder to begin the voice calibration. Then confirm that you want to run it by pressing the Run button, which is the last button at the top above the screen. The balance of this video is a time lapse showing the different sections as they go through. The first performing initial frequency measurements. It's the first of 33 steps. When that's complete, it waits for the temperature to settle in at the high setting. That's heating up the cards up over 62 degrees Celsius. Once they've stabilized, it runs the calibration test at high temperature, and then it goes and settles down to take low temperature tests. While it's doing that, the fans will kick in at full speed, so you might think it's going to take off, but that's just to bring the temperature down quicker. Step 5 runs the temperature calibration for the low temperature, and eventually goes to step 6, which is performing the dense frequency measurements. This is the last step we were able to perform. As it continued, it slowed down and eventually stopped. Where a lot of the lights on the Moog were flashing when it began, they eventually all slowed and stopped, and I let it run as long as overnight with no results. So unfortunately, that is as far as I can take you on this road. My Moog One never made it past step 6. But had it completed, according to the instructions, it would tell you that things had been updated. You're then supposed to power cycle it. And the last step should save the settings so that if you want to view the results, you could go back into that settings and calibration menu the same way we got in before. Select voice card calibration, calibration data, and view results. And you'd be able to see whether each voice card passed or failed. And if a specific card failed, you could then select that with the encoder and rerun the calibration just for that single voice card. And last but not least, they remind you that once a full voice card calibration has been performed, you should run an oscillator compensation calibration again, even if it was done beforehand, because by tweaking all the oscillators, the previous results would no longer be valid, and you want to keep all that in sync if you're using it. So hopefully this video still has some value, at least for no other reason. If it doesn't work for you, don't panic, just power cycle it and you should be right back where you were before. But if you're really out of tune and this works for you, following this procedure should help a lot. Anyway, keep pestering Moog. Still looking for the next firmware update where this becomes more permanent and a few more bugs get fixed. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.